Hey, hey, hey. We're back. How you guys doing? Happy New Year's. I'm going to keep saying that. I don't care if it's the 12th. I'm going to keep saying it because I'm introducing myself to you guys, and, you know, that's how we getting started this year. We're gonna try to keep up with you. I'm going to do a third part to this actual Minnesota thing because I made some promises to you guys, and I just want to keep it. Kind of give you the finalization on the sentencings and pretty much to let you know how big the actual scamming is in Minnesota, that you don't take it my word for it. I always got to bring you more data, more information, because I want you to know this is the truth. Even if you feel like I'm a Trump supporter or I'm a little bit more right to your left, at the least, you know, no matter how much you feel about me, I'm always telling you the truth, and I'm showing you the truth and analytics and data to what I'm saying. So when I bloviate about something, you could, I did tell you guys to go take a drive to see how you've been outpaced by new immigrants and stuff. So that thing is a little hands-on. You literally, it's so prevalent that you can literally go outside your house and see that. But anyway, I'm back. Welcome back. Please, look, I need you guys to do me a favor. In the description area, you're going to see an email, individualperspectivepodcast@gmail.com. individualperspectivepodcast@gmail.com. Please utilize that. I need you to kind of, if it's topics that you want to talk about, just put it in there. Also, if you guys are not afraid to become panelists on podcasts, I want you to kind of give me your information, give me your email, so I could send a link to you and we could do our panels and everything. So please just utilize that. I'll organize it and I'll make sure everything is good and we can have a good show, okay? And we're gonna do it if you're available, and I would kind of send out a request and everything and see if you're available and everything. But I'll keep up with you. Just put your information in the individualperspectivepodcast@gmail.com email. And please, I don't care if you're just browsing by, if you're just browsing to see what's going on here, see if I got any substance to what I'm saying or any control of the communication, which, I'm a little rusty, but I'm getting back into it. I'll explain that in a second, but please hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Be very interactive. Just even if you're just browsing by, just hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hit the follow button. Please do that for me, okay? I would like for you to stay. I would like for you to kind of become part of the actual show. Hit comments inside the chat. Even hit my super chats, and everything like that, or whatever you could do to get me started and everything. I'm fighting for it. Okay, I'm doing the graphics. I'm doing the logos. I'm doing the graphics and the clips and the producing, and I'm doing everything. I'm doing all the bells and whistles of it. So this is how we're gonna start. We're gonna make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But I can't do it without you guys. Okay, so I got my Red Bull, so I'm gonna try to. I've been doing a lot today, so I'm going to try to keep it moving. So, I say when you look at my podcast and you're kind of scouring through it, and sometimes you'll see me catch my thoughts or stutter or something like that. Oh, excuse me. I'm a filmmaker, so I judge performance pretty well. I'm a really good podcaster. I'm a really, really good podcast. I've been doing it for a long time. If you go look at SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, it's a SoundCloud episode called Life Choice Health and Wealth. That was a podcast that I did also. I did that with a very, very special person. His name is Khalil Biddle. He passed, and man, I miss him every single day. He was the dude. And we were just getting started. You know what I mean? We're just creating and really taking things off and everything. And if he could see like the movies I did and all the stuff that I did, because he was there when it was messy and it was slow and it was daunting and it was scrappy and so I wish he was here to see all that stuff. But Life Choice Health and Wealth, you'll see Individual Perspective Podcast. I got stuff that goes all the way to 2015. I was aggressive on it, so I've been doing this for a while, so that's why I can just come straight in and do the podcasting. And I don't really I'm not ordinary to it, but I do gather my thoughts and stuff. And I always try to articulate something that I don't want to cut, you know what I mean? But I need to stop doing that and just let myself speak. Okay? So, Individual Perspective Podcast, I did an introduction episode just to kind of give you guys the concept of my ideology on having an individuality and an individual perspective. And you could go watch that episode. It's a few episodes back. I introduced it in the beginning of this year, 2026 and stuff, just to make sure we come into the year and you understand what my, they call it's my mission statement is, business model, whatever you want to call it for my podcast. So that's pretty much what it is. And it's just to make sure that we have individuality. I think it's so lost in the average human being. I don't really care about the anomalies, the 1 to 5%. I care about the 70 to 95% people that are just normal and they're just average people. And I kind of speak to them because we all are trying to grow on a day-to-day basis. It's a day-to-day fight, but the system is sick, it's ill. And a lot of minorities gain value on that because the people need a hero. The people need somebody to look up to bigger than them. Now, it used to be like a faraway celebrity, movie star, or musician, or politician, or a philosophical speaker, or something like that. It used to be that, but since the pandemic, the average person around the average people got a podcast or just social influencing communications on their Instagram or their podcast or their TikTok or YouTube or something like that. And it made it's like people that are close extensions to where you are, like celebrities. It made them big because it was like, oh man, that guy's from Detroit and I gotta listen to him and everything. And then inflated stardom to very base average successful people. So people in the middle higher class, so they making like $100,000 to $200,000. They became stars. They became people that's making $30,000 to $100,000 to $200,000 to $1 million a month, because that's how society went. Now that only happened for about a good few. You get what I'm saying? And I'm talking about a few. We got to remember, there's 343 million people in the country. The new real people that actually turned the dollar over the last 5 years and became like people that's making 30 to hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars a month. That kind of range maybe in a 10,000, maybe some extensions to them is about 1 million. With new money, million people that had new money that kind of went into six figures and more. Okay. I'll look it up to make sure if I got my numbers right. But the reason why I mention that is because that's it. The system, that's it. The new paradigm is most people, the average people, will get poorer and poorer and poorer. Or you'll get rich or successful, more successful and more successful. but it's going to be really dependent on, do you got a great mindset or not? That's what it's going to be dependent on in the next 5 to 10 years. In 5 to 10 years, I'll say by 20 years from now, it will make or break most people. They will pretty much be where they're at. So I kind of speak to have a conversation with people that are in their 30s, late 30s, 40s, late 40s, early 50s. And the reason why I want to talk to them is because they're in a very crucial place right now that can make or break them. And as even for me, I'm finding out that you got to be a killer. You got to be a killer. Like, I'm talking about go get them. Very self-centered, very selfish, very dominating to what you want to accomplish. And you do whatever it takes to accomplish it. And in order to do that, you got to have a mindset of isolation of needs and want. And that's the hard thing because, a lot of us, we've been raised to be like together and joint and considerate and stuff like that, just by circumstances of what was going on in our upbringing. But you gotta be like a killer, a real doer, a real aggressive taker and dominating person. Because once you stabilize the doer, the actual person with the idea, the person with the formula and the actual plan and goal, once you stabilize that person, then you'll actually be sorry about that. I don't know what's up with this thing. You'll actually be very very successful, so and we it's almost like we've been told a lie, you know what I mean? We've been told a lie that it's like you should be humble and how can I say humble and unifying and all that stuff like that. But really, if you want to get something done, you need to be a pit bull. You really do. And we're kind of finding that out the hard way, most of us. You know what I mean? So I'm going to tell you from what I've been going through for the last 6 to 8 years, my best outcome has been because when I transitioned to what am I trying to do? What am I trying to accomplish? What's the actual plan and what's the end result to the goal that the plan is built for? Get back on that, lock on that, and don't divert. And it took me a while to divert because I always felt like, man, it was like, as a filmmaker, it's like, it's not no real money around you. It's not no people that got lucrative cash flow and stuff. You got you're almost in a situation where you got 9 to 5 workers investing in multi-$100,000 movies, and because they're 9 to 5 workers investing in a multi-$100,000 movie, you're not going to get the budget you set out for. So you're going to have to do it for 70% lower than what's perceived. And that's always dangerous too, because how are you going to pull off 100% outcome with 30% of what it's going to take to do it? So that will mean that you have to eat off yourself. You have to almost eat on yourself and damage yourself in order to get to the finish line. And hopefully when you get to the finish line, you executed on the goal you wanted to accomplish, and you benefit off of that. And that's what's going on with what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So I'm saying to you guys, I always tell people, if you're going to start a business, I don't care if it's a restaurant, to a clothing store, to whatever it is, podcast to whatever you're doing, you're going to need $250,000 to do it. I know that sounds crazy, but if you do your research, anything that happens successful, they paid $250,000 and up. It's nothing successful if you don't have that kind of cash flow. You got to have a great plan, or at least a plan and thought out, and you got to stick with it. But you got to have operation costs, and you got to have a financial stable jump off point. So while you're accomplishing the goal for 6 months to a year or so, you don't have to worry about opening the doors, doing the work. Because if you do got to worry about doing the work or opening the doors or being able to start the car or put gas in the car or paying for your own roof over your head, it's all messy. It's sloppy. You don't know what timelines will break. Nothing will go because it's a day-to-day fight. And you don't need anything on a day-to-day fight if it's a goal and a structured business, or it's like a task, an outcome. So, but most of us don't have that option. We're going to have to do the day-to-day fight. And if we win in the end, it was all worth it. You get what I'm saying? So that's I just wanted to start you guys off to understanding, having an individual perspective gives you the understanding what has to be done, what is the truth, but also my mindset on self-sustainability. The sad part about it is you have to survive and you have to sustain yourself, because excuse me, no goal, no accomplishment will be executed if your face is on the ground, if you're on your knees with a gun to your head. None. So sustain yourself, sustain your mission, sustain your goal, and then that helps to do what you want to do with the people around you and your family and all the other stuff, or you even make a family and stuff like that. But I already went over this with I have an episode called you like how your real world works. Check that out. I kind of go over the numbers and everything like that, and just check that out. Okay, we're gonna get back to this Minnesota thing. I'm sorry, I've been talking for 20 minutes now, and we're gonna get off. I told you guys I'm gonna come back and give you guys the lowdown on some of the stuff that was going on in the Minnesota case. You remember we seen that somebody was trying to bribe the actual jury with $120,000. I actually found out who that was and who the case and stuff. So I want to make sure that I could join everything and finalize everything in this episode. So let's go to it. Okay.
Hey, thanks for joining us on this Thursday night. So, as if the Feeding Our Future case couldn't get any worse, with record-breaking sums of money allegedly being stolen that were supposed to go to hungry kids, then the trial happened, and then the attempted bribe of a juror in the trial happened. And now we know how far the scheme went to bribe that juror. The woman accused of delivering the bribe money pleaded not guilty in court today, and the U.S. attorney thought this has to be a first ever $100,000 plus bribe attempt of a juror here in Minnesota. But it turns out it's happened before. Here's Lou Raguse.
We learned that an unknown woman showed up at the home of a juror.
That unknown woman, U.S. Attorney Andy Lugar says, is 31-year-old Ladin Ali. Ali and 4 men are now charged with a rare crime, corruptly influencing a juror.
Corruption of a jury through intimidation or bribery is a serious federal crime that carries a...
And why Tim Watts, the governor of Minnesota, was running for vice president with Kamala, all this was going on. All this was going on. It's wild stuff.
Significant prison sentence.
In Lugar's press conference Wednesday, he highlighted how Ali flew to Minnesota from Seattle, where she also has ties.
Juror 52 leaving a parking ramp.
Lugar says Ali surveilled the youngest and only juror of color, following her home from the courthouse. Over 3 days, Ali allegedly drove by juror 52.
So she was, I guess, looking in the courtroom and seeing that it was a black woman that's on the jury, and she followed her. Wow. Interesting. And this was one of the actual guys that was on trial that pretty much was behind this. It's wild stuff.
To Spring Lake Park home 19 times. This heat map, created by the FBI, shows the amount of time Ali spent near the juror's home, according to her rental car's GPS data. Directed by 4 men, including 3 standing trial for stealing more than $40 million from the federal child nutrition program during the pandemic, the defendants are accused of a sophisticated plot to get to juror 52 with money. Then detailed instructions on how to convince the rest of the jury to vote not guilty, primarily by accusing the government of being racist against the Somali immigrants. After being driven back to juror number 52's house by this man, Abdul Karim Farah, Ali is accused of bringing $120,000 cash to the door and promising juror 52's family member that more money would come after the not guilty verdict. A scene right out of a mob movie.
This is more than just a mob movie. This is a chilling attack on our system of justice.
Lugar stressed how rare the attempted bribe of a juror is nationwide.
But it just doesn't happen in Minnesota.
In fact, KARE 11 News was only able to find one other documented case in our state in 1961 during an actual mob trial taking place in Minneapolis involving the Kid Can liquor syndicate.
He is the absolute most notorious mobster in Minnesota history.
Twin Cities filmmaker Michael Greenberg studied Isidore Kid Can Blumenfeld, hoping to turn his short film into a series.
In the 60s, obviously times had changed, and it was out of an act of desperation of trying to bribe somebody that they had no previous relationship with.
The mob bribe was unsuccessful. Just like in the Feeding Our Future case, the judge in the Kid Can case called the attempted bribe an even more serious crime than the underlying liquor law trial. Lugar characterizes it as an assault on the integrity of the justice system.
There is no higher priority than protecting that system.
Ladin Ali will be free until her trial, but is not allowed to leave the state of Minnesota. Her co-defendants are all in jail, but they will be asking a judge to be released during a hearing on Monday.
Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild, boy? I tell you. So, okay, let's go to the next clip. And like I said, I want you guys to understand, this was all why Kamala was running for president, that her vice president had all these cases. All this stuff is from 2000. What was it? 2022 to pretty much now. Pretty much now. All of it was popping up, and it was fresh in 22, 23, and 24. Like the cases were like in trials was going on, all this stuff. And the news was popping. Not nationally. I don't know how Trump and them didn't use this. I don't know how they didn't destroy Watts with this stuff. But it tells you just like how self-destructive, like Trump, he's good. He's like Republicans would be nothing without Trump. Nothing, because they weak. They don't have it. But he can't be everything. He can't know everything. He can't be the mouthpiece for every situation. But in a way, this is ridiculous. Look, let's get to it.
News at 6.
A woman accused of trying to bribe a juror in one of the Feeding Our Future trials has now accepted a plea deal. That is our top story tonight at 6. I'm Kelsey Carlson.
And I'm Randy Meyer. Ladan Muhammad Ali appeared in federal court today to accept responsibility for her role in the attempted bribe. And that's where we find Fox 9's Courtney Godfrey tonight. Courtney, some new details emerging in court today. Tell us about them.
Yeah, that's right, Randy. LaDon Muhammad Ali crying before the judge today as the U.S. Attorney's Office laid out the potential prison sentence she could face for her role in all this. Meanwhile, we're learning that she actually hatched a plan to steal some of that cash before ultimately dropping it off at that juror's house.
Miss Ali, any comment?
What happened to the rest of the money?
Where did the $80,000 go?
Can you please put the money
In the safe. What y'all talking about? She actually had like $200,000, and she took 80 of it and put that up. Absolutely. If something happens to me, I better be taken well care of. And if this person don't take this money, I ain't gonna give the whole 120 grand to them. Y'all crazy? No. She's smart. It's ridiculous. And she's a looker, too.
The 31-year-old is one of 5 people charged with trying to bribe a juror in one of the Feeding Our Future cases. The trial involved 7 people connected to the nonprofit, accused of stealing millions from COVID relief funds meant to feed children in need.
It's so funny that Minnesota has what ISIS had in Syria and Iraq, where these beautiful American women will go over to Syria and Iraq, I guess because they really wanted to be dominated by men. I guess American men, we were too soft and giving too much appeasement to women and stuff in America, that it just are conforming to femininity. The feminist movement has made it where women think we're weak so much that they gotta go to these chauvinist, dominating Muslims and everything in Iraq and Syria and Somalia. So now you look at this stuff and you see all these women here in America, and they're kind of like, obviously a lot of their appearance is them looking, they understand beauty and all that other stuff, and they got it. And it's like, man, but they want to be reformed. They don't want to be, they don't like I'm telling you, if you learn anything over the last 40, 50 years, women hate how men appease them for the feminist movement. Women hate men so much to how weak we were to appease and moderate to the femininity way. I mean, to the feminist movement. And that we had a relative respect to the feminist movement. Women hate us for it. Now they rather be with each other or be alone or be under the rule of like heretic, wild Muslim guys that they go over to Syria and Iraq to be with ISIS, and go to Minnesota to be with the Muslim Somalis, and now they're doing bags of money, getting themselves put in jail, and it's just wild stuff. But she's a looker.
7 people connected to the nonprofit accused of stealing millions from COVID relief funds meant to feed children in need. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Ali delivered a bag containing $120,000 cash to the juror's home with a promise of more if the defendants were acquitted. After originally pleading not guilty to multiple felony charges, Ali agreed to a plea deal which was submitted to the judge today. Sentencing guidelines suggest that Ali could spend about 4.5 to 6 years in prison, but ultimately it will be up to the judge. As for the other 4 that are charged in this bribery case, their fate is still unknown as their cases are still pending. Reporting live at the federal courthouse tonight, Courtney Godfrey.
Look, y'all, look, I just want to say this. Tim Watts was running for vice president. Now, I said this in the previous episode and everything. I want you guys to understand. They were scamming $2 to $20 billion. $2 to $20 billion. Tim Walz is the governor. Okay, and I guess I can't remember the Minneapolis mayor's name. It's like Ferry or whatever. I don't know. I gotta look it up. But if you think, now you gotta think about this in Detroit or any kind of other city, New York, Chicago, or LA. Let's say a multi-billion-dollar company comes to open up a $2 billion building inside of Minnesota or any of your states or wherever you live at or anywhere. Of course, the actual governor and the mayor would be there to cut the ribbon, to help cut the ribbon, or be there on ribbon cutting day for the ground. They are not gonna not have that kind of exposure. That's a lot. If a company is spending $2 billion on a building, that means they're gonna have some major cash flow running through that company. I mean, through that city and that state. So could you imagine scamming $2 billion to $20 billion from the treasury of the state, and the governor don't know, or the mayor, where that money is moving around in, he don't know what billions of dollars moving in accounts, buying up stuff, new Benzes and Porsches and houses getting bought up like crazy. Come on, y'all. They said in this case, it was $250 million that was supposed to go to feeding 6,000 people, and they only used 10% of the money for the feeding, meaning 90% of the money was gold. It was with somewhere else. Like, how do you even go a couple months, 6 months, a year was spending that kind of money in like, it's just ridiculous. Okay. So I'm just letting you guys know, and we're going to go deeper into that. I'm just giving you guys, I'm just thinking of it, and I think it's just ridiculous. So let's go, we're going to go a little further into this, because I'm very curious about this lady that tried to bribe the jury with $120,000. Like I said, this is the third part. I'm going to wrap up everything in this episode. That way, if you watch all 3 parts to this series, the Minnesota situation, then you'll see that it all comes together and everything like this. So it makes more sense if you watch all 3 of them. But at the same time, I'm giving you a little recap.
And
a story about fraud in Minnesota that you probably haven't heard. It's about what happened before the jury bribe in the Feeding Our Future scandal, the forgery that cost a Minnesota business owner tens of thousands of dollars, and the woman behind it all, who has walked free for so long.
Sorry,
Next.
turning that down.
Brad Billings is my guest. Appreciate you being here. Good to see you, Brad.
good to see you, Liz, and thanks for having me on.
You're a small business owner, an insurance agent, and unfortunately, a victim of fraud. But there is a lot more to the story here. It says a lot about what's going on behind the scenes in cases of fraud in Minnesota. So I want to start with just some background. Laden Muhammad Ali, the suspect in your case, was also charged with trying to bribe juror number 52 in the Feeding Our Future fraud scandal. This made international news. Backing up, though, how did you first meet Ali, and what happened?
Sure. So in June of 22, Laden applied for a job in my agency.
Crazy. June in 2022. I told you guys. Now, while she was doing this, they were doing the big scamming inside of the Minnesota and actually getting caught at also too. So they were starting to crack down on it a little bit. This is wow. Because I want you to kind of think of Tim Walz running for vice president and knowing all of this stuff happened, in $2 to $20 billion got scammed in his state. I don't know why we acting like $2 to $20 billion is just like pocket change in a state. That ain't not. It's not federal government that got a $4 trillion like nest egg that they blow every single. Actually, we're up to $6 trillion that we blow every single year now. This is a state. It's a wow.
I did a background check on her. I checked her references. I interviewed her, obviously. Everything checked out, so I hired her. She started the first week in July of 2022.
And she only, from what I understand, worked for you for a short period of time. What happened?
Liz, in her fourth week in my office, she stole $30,000. She forged a check for $30,000. Fortunately, the bank caught this, but nevertheless, she forged a check for $30,000. So one thing led to another, and it was a very unfortunate set of circumstances.
4 weeks in, that's hilarious. Okay, I'm sorry to say, it's funny. She's crazy. She's a wild girl. Very risky. Very risky. Look, hey guys, like I said, if I want to build a panel for this channel and everything like that, use the links in the actually it's an email that says individualperspectivepodcast@gmail.com. Send me your email and your name and everything so I can kind of send you a link and we can do panels and everything like that. I want to do panels through the week and everything. We'll do it on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and sometimes Saturday if you are available and everything. I want to build a panel and I'll put the topics up and everything like that and we'll just go hardcore. Okay? So I want to build with you. I want to build this channel with you. I know it's small. I know it's I told you guys, I've been doing this for a while. So you got to go to my SoundCloud, my Apple Podcasts, Rumble. You'll see I got stuff from 2015 to now. And I've been doing this a long time. I used to, back in the days in 2008, I used to actually do podcasts and put them as a clip onto the site and you could click the play button and everything like that. So I got a lot of throwback and everything. But we're doing this. We're starting 2026 pretty hardcore. I would like for us to collaborate with each other and build with each other. So if you can, I would like for you to use the individual perspective podcast @gmail.com link. Please hit the like button. I know I'm a nobody, but the great thing you can do for me is hit the like button, subscribe, talk to me in the chat. You know what I mean? Let's fight this battle together, okay? Let's build. Okay? So let's get back to it. Cause that's wild. 4 weeks in, she's writing a $30,000 forgery check that she could even be in the company, and that company is so stable that she's somewhere able to get around the actual company checks and write the check. Wild stuff, man. Ballsy lady.
Brett, I know you contact police almost immediately. She steals this $30,000 from you. She's charged eventually with check forgery, a felony. She's not in jail. Then it's a year and a half later, Ali is charged with trying to bribe a juror in the Feeding Our Future case. Some people may remember this. She leaves a Hallmark gift bag with $120,000 on the juror's doorstep. She kept $80,000 of the $200,000 bribe for herself, according to the criminal complaint. But once you hear her name again, you realize she was involved in yet another case of fraud. What was going through your mind?
Well, going back, if I could, Liz, for just a second to my case. This case, I mean, she was charged. She initially denied any responsibility for it. I told her that we had the bank video, and she finally said, "Well, I don't think it was me. It was my fiance." So she tried to point the fingers in a lot of directions. There was finally, I turned it over to the Shakopee Police Department, and then Scott County got a hold of it, and they charged her first-degree felony check forgery. She was sent a notice to appear in court. She blew it off. She didn't show up. They put a bench warrant out for her arrest. And interestingly enough, the authorities couldn't find her. We found out in my office that she was working at another agency in the insurance business up in Plymouth. We reported her to Hennepin County. They knocked on the door and they arrested her. That's how she ended up in jail.
Yeah, so talk about that a bit more, Brad. It is feeding her.
Jesus. Look, you gotta love her gumption, right? You gotta like it. Come on. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is some hood rat stuff, okay? But really, she got gumption. She got gumption, and it's like, it's like, yes. Look. I was watching TV today, the morning news, and they had a Indian girl on, and she developed a actual microelectronic way that the actual poly little micro thing can go into your arteries and clear out your arteries to your heart. Like it knows the difference between soft tissue and hard, like calcium or hard, like shape, like things that are building up on your valves and leading to your arteries to your heart and everything, and it can clear it out, and it actually regulates the softness to the hardness of the actual things that are kind of building up around your arteries and your valves. And while she was explaining all this, I was like, man, she's so smart. She's just really smart. Like, if masculinity was still the majority dominance of the world, where you wouldn't even have a lot of women in the workforce, would we get this Indian lady to even be able to build something like that or design something like that? Because it's such an emotional micro technology type of thing that, like, probably a woman would care about. And because we like tearing up big stuff. I always tell men in our Alexander syndrome, we're very Neanderthal. You know what I'm saying? So it takes a little finesse to come up with something, a technology like that the Indian lady come. But as I think about this girl, this Ali Landon, whatever her name, Landon or something, Landon. I think about, like, women out there fighting for the bag, you know, and how wow that is. And for 40, 50 years, what kind of environment have we created where women fighting for the bag and it's an actual necessity for them to fight for the bag? And it's just like, you just wonder, like, okay, you don't want women to subvert their femininity and subvert being a submissive being and modulating themselves to the man. You don't want them to go against that natural order of things, but you will probably miss out on the Indian girl building the finessing artery cleaner, micro artery cleaner technology and stuff like that. And you got some little things going to do some works that takes surgeons so much to do in heart surgery, and now this girl has come up with a way to make it a whole lot easier. You know what I mean? Like shooting something in from a syringe into your actual vein, and then those things go in there and they do the work. You know, it's like, wow, that's that level. So I know I'm diverting, but it has cohesive meaning to say, you get the wild girl that's fighting and doing some of the most wild stuff, and it sounds like the judge and the prosecutor and the cops, they kind of a little light on her because she's kind of pretty, you know. Jay, I mean, listen to this stuff.
Found out in my office that she was working at another agency in the insurance business up in Plymouth. We reported her to Hennepin County. They knocked on the door and they arrested her. That's how she ended up in jail.
Yeah, so talk about that a bit more, Brad. It is Feeding Our Future. How do you first hear that she is connected, and what do you think about that?
What do I think about it? I find it astonishing that this person who worked in our office could do this. So we read it. We heard about it in the newspapers, and yep, it was the same person, and found out that she indeed not only did she give $120,000, she put 80. Her group gave her 200,000, and she stole 80,000 from them. So even more astonishing.
Come on, I wouldn't say she stole it. I think she did a executive decision of what makes sense, you know. And truthfully, she was right. The lady the jury called the cops and gave the money to the cops and stuff. So she would have threw the whole 200 grand away. She was right.
The fact that she was going to be charged with that, and then she finally did plead guilty to that charge too. But now she's got 2 felonies, Liz, and she's still walking the streets.
Oh, yeah.
So I reached out actually to the federal district court prosecutors, told them about my case. They said, yep, we're already aware of your case. And I said, well, sir, she's got parole violations that she's done. I mean, why is she still walking the streets? And they said, oh, that's up to Scott County. So I called the probation officer in Scott County and said, that's up to the feds. We don't touch these federal cases. I said, she's in parole violation. And they said, we don't really do anything with that. Unbelievable.
Now, it's an insurance company. He's a white man, you know, corporate white man and stuff, because technically, you know, doing the insurance work that's kind of a little high up. Not high, but it's a, you know, a very white job, okay? You know, so he hired her with all her Muslim stuff on, meaning that he's a liberal, you know what I'm saying, or some kind of bleeding heart syndrome person. Or she just was pretty and he just like, oh, come on, this lady carries herself. She smells decent and everything like that. She's makes a good little situation, which is a lot of things that's going on with that situation. And what worked for him and his ideology is the same thing that's going on in it's Seattle. It's the most liberal, crazy, radical place there. That's where all the COVID victims was at the first place. That's where it actually blew up from. Everybody flew in, Asians and everybody flew into Seattle. It was a guy that did a trip from China to California to Seattle. He visited his mother in an actual senior home, and then it blew up. Whole senior home, just like bodies was dropping. You get what I'm saying? And it inflated from there, and it ballooned into the whole country. Okay, that look, I do my work. Okay, I do my work. But anyway, Seattle's crazy. Okay, it's a crazy ideological place. Okay, but he's kind of going around saying, "Hey, well, I think we need to stop being a little bit too easy on this lady. Why? Your whole culture is to be easy on like white guilt and all this crazy stuff. I don't know what is going on there, but y'all ain't doing no profiling. Y'all ain't doing no profiling in Seattle. It's wild. And it leads to the most ridiculous stuff. In her situation, she's pretty wild. She's pretty wild. And she got hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because, man, those Somalians in Minnesota was giving the bag, literally. You think that's all? If she got $200,000 to try to bribe the actual lady, they gave her a couple $100,000 to risk her life like that. She's a smart girl.
It is. So Ali is currently awaiting sentencing for the bribery, the Feeding Our Future case. No date has been set. She's not in custody for months. She's involved in a car crash and charged with DUI.
Wow.
She left the scene of the crash, then stopped in the middle of a highway. Court documents indicate that she was over the legal limit for alcohol intoxication. Somehow, even after all that, once again, she's allowed out of custody. Brad, all the while, you're making calls trying to warn authorities about her, and she's allowed to do this.
Couldn't believe it. She was actually found passed out on Highway 55, a 4-lane highway, after leaving the scene of an accident, arrested, put in jail. I believe she's pled guilty to this, and now we have a third felony for which she's still walking the streets. And to make the story even further interesting, it came out.
This country loves their immigrants. I don't even know if she's an immigrant. She looks so American. She looks so American. So I don't know.
The newspapers this summer that she took $1.6 million from the Feeding Our Future scandal. She also had now a...
Hold on a second. Woman accused of bribe in Feeding Our Future trial got at least $1.6 million as fake vendor new records. So she got man, what oh, she was a runner, she was a doer. Oh, that's interesting.
Further interesting, it came out in the newspapers this summer that she took $1.6 million from the Feeding Our Future scandal. She also had now a fourth felony. And I called the federal prosecutor's office and the Scott County probation again. I mean, what the heck is going on? This 4 felonies, and it's not enough to... We don't get involved. The Scott County said that's not our case. That's up to the feds right now.
Well, it seems somebody eventually listened to you, Brad. We know that she was picked up just recently on November 9th and is being held in the Scott County jail for now, I guess we can say. It seems like these cases, though, have made a mockery of whatever is left of the justice system in Minnesota. That said, you know her. She worked for you. Do you think she...
Yeah, do you understand? Like, a lot of average people was getting their hands on that $2 to $20 billion. If they smart, they put some of that stuff in the Cayman Islands. Sent it out the country, which I heard they did a lot of that.
Is any remorse for stealing from you or committing bribery in the Feeding Our Future scandal at all? Or do you think she's just unfazed by what seems to be just a lack of consequences in this state?
Very interesting. And you're right. I did just learn that she was picked up. I learned that this morning. So, thank God she's where she needs to be. Do I think she has any remorse? I think she has remorse that she got caught. I think that's where her remorse is probably coming from. I know she's made the statement somewhere along the lines. I can't remember exactly where I heard.
It's a dog country right now. You know what I mean? Look, the average person has no value in society. You know what I mean? They bust their ass. They work hard. They always striving. They absolutely want to do more. They want to level up too, and they'll level up to however they have and the way they have to level up. But still, they're disrespected in our lives. We have no value for people that make under 600. People that make under 6 figures. That's how the level up culture has made it. So people, it's a dog world. So if you get an option like what she got, you're gonna kind of go through the jungle. You're gonna actually go in the weeds and the actual down the rabbit hole into the abyss of anything happens, anything goes inside the abyss. And what do you want to say? What do you want to say? You want her to not take the opportunity that's most likely gonna come once in a lifetime. And yeah, I'm not saying people should do what she did. That's crazy. Because she gotta spend time in jail. Even though she could come, if she put the money up the right way, she could come out of jail and have some, at least so far, she got $1.6 million. She took 80 from $200,000 plus they probably gave her a couple. Man, she probably got close to $2 million that she's actually able to touch if she did the right thing with him. And somebody around that $2 billion to $20 billion should have been smart enough to say, hey, y'all, just in case this blows, y'all better put that money somewhere. Wild stuff, man. But look, normal American citizens that's birthed and raised and heritage comes and built the land that we on. We watch all these immigrants, illegals come in here. What we do? Our government get buying them food trucks, restaurants, all kind of buildings, all kind of funding. In addition, giving them good startup cash flow to live for about a couple years until they can get on their feet and everything. I seen that they bought like $800,000, $500,000, $300,000 houses. Then you got India sending money with a lot of Indian visa worker visas, and they buying up $800,000 and $500,000 house. Don't take my word for it. Take a drive. You can see all this going on. So it's a dog-eat-dog world in this country, and we got to try to be very good citizens and don't do anything crazy or selfish, while all these people, foreigners and illegal aliens, we're talking about 15 to 25 million, and if you count the ones that Reagan got in here that you could probably catch, about 35 to 40 million illegal immigrants having a good time, and native citizens of this country, Black Americans, struggling, asking for reparations, and they gave reparations of the Black Americans to illegal immigrants like 5 times over. It's a joke. This is crazy. My light just went out.
But she said, this is our culture. We lie, we cheat, we steal. And really, I mean, astonishing. So remorse? I don't think so.
What do you think it is about Minnesota? Are we just too nice, Brad?
There is that phrase, Minnesota nice, Liz, but, I don't think it's anything about being nice. I think it's totally about our lack of accountability for crime. To have criminals out in the street the next day and county attorneys not wanting to prosecute anything, and it's the victim's fault. I mean, I shake my head. I just don't believe it. It's hard to fathom. It's hard to get your arms around that. I don't get it.
Many of us do not. Brad Billings, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
And that will do it for this episode of Liz Collin Reports. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
There is that phrase, Minnesota nice, Liz, but, I don't think it's really, I mean, astonishing. So remorse? I don't think so.
What do you think it is about Minnesota? Are we just too nice, Brad?
There is that phrase, Minnesota nice, Liz, but, I don't think it's anything about being nice. I think it's totally about our lack of accountability for crime.
Yeah, absolutely.
To have criminals out in the street the next day and county attorneys not wanting to prosecute anything, and it's the victim's fault.
Okay, so he lives in Minnesota. So she lived in Minnesota, and then she went to Seattle. That's interesting.
I mean, I shake my head. I just don't believe it. It's hard to fathom. It's hard to get your arms around that. I don't get it.
Many of us do not. Brad Billings, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you.
Okay. So I just wanted to, like I said, I just wanted to tie it up, let y'all know who these people are and who they got caught up with. So let's finalize the case of some of the fraud, and then we're gonna show you proof of how much fraud is going on in that state. So you won't have to take my word. You won't think I'm a Trump supporter and all that crazy stuff. I'm not. I'm giving you liberal news outlets and having them talk to you. Have your own people talk to you if you think I'm a crappy Republican. I hate Republicans. They weak. You know, I'm a big Trump fan. I love Trump and I love what he does. It's aggressive. I don't really like how he's kind of, getting in the middle of the Ukraine and Putin. And Putin should be wiping Ukraine out. Look, my opinion. It's like I look at it as if China or Russia was inside of Mexico or Canada, like arming and giving them weapons and stuff to protect themselves from the United States of America. It'd be like you got a military base. China and Russia has a military base in Mexico or Canada. And you think we're going to sit here and just let that happen? No. And that's what we're doing in Ukraine. Obama and Biden, they've been putting so much weapons, so much crazy stuff. They've been doing so much shady stuff so they could plant an attack to Russia inside of Ukraine. So if anytime they want, they could just overthrow and destroy Russia's stabilization. No, hell nah. Russia like, nope. Y'all breaking the number one rule we told y'all don't break. So I don't like how he's kind of getting in the middle of that. In addition, I had to do some studying on Venezuela. I'm about to do a Venezuela episode after this one. It's off the hook. It's off the hook. And he actually made the right move. Our military, our weapons, we supposed to be strong arming Cuba, Venezuela, Colombia, all that's in our region. Canada, Mexico. We supposed to be bullying the shit out of them so they won't do the crazy stuff they've been doing for the last 40 years. I don't understand. I lost family members to like the drug war of dope or gangs and dealers doing all kind of stuff. Oh man, that has destroyed the black community like I don't know what. Why are we fighting? Somebody finally bringing real Navy SEAL drama to the cartels and the drug situation in our country. It's just ridiculous. Look, I know. I'm just saying, but I'm just telling you guys. I'm bringing you facts, and I'm letting your people do your liberal news anchors tell you the stuff. Okay, let's go to the news. Let's wrap this feeding our future scammers up, and then, like I said, I'm gonna go take you to the news conference to show you how much money they really scamming.
Federal courtroom this morning, a judge handed down the harshest sentence yet in the massive Feeding Our Future fraud case. Lou Raguse was in the room as Mukhtar Sharif learned his fate. He joins us now with that story. Lou.
Rena, Mukhtar Sharif was not charged in the attempted bribe of a juror, but he knew about it, destroyed evidence concerning it, and Judge Nancy Brazel took that into consideration in handing down today's sentence.
During the 6-week trial for 7 people charged with stealing $47 million in the Feeding Our Future meal fraud case, Mukhtar Sharif was the only defendant to testify. He claimed he was legitimately serving meals to kids at the Dar El Farouk Mosque in Bloomington and testified that if any documentation was fraudulent, he didn't know about it. But following his conviction at his sentencing hearing today, Sharif took a different tone. Quote, "That is a painful feeling to know I did anything that caused these programs to be compromised."
From this morning,
it's so funny. They said that $250 million it was to be used to feed 6,000 people. Are you kidding? 250. It costs $250 million to feed 6,000 people. Well, like every day, every month, and for how many, 2-3 years? Well, like, what's the numbers on that? That's wow. Oh, now I always want to remind Americans, especially Black Americans, you're dumb, you're foolish. Our government is illegitimate. It's illegitimate. With all this stuff that they've been doing for the illegal immigrants through the Biden administration, just open your eyes. This is crazy. Y'all asking for reparations. Y'all don't want no reparations. You got, what is it? I think it's $2.6 trillion can wipe out all the debt, all the school debt, all the credit card debt for the American citizens that's been born, raised, and actual descendants of Americans here in America, not slaves. We talk about white, Black, Asians, Hispanics, like people that's been here at least 70 to 100, 200 years. It can wipe out all the debt, credit card debt, whatever debt, and school debt. Ask yourself, how much you got to remember, we spend $6.5 trillion every single year in our government. Our government blows $6.5 trillion every single year. Every single year. It used to be $4 trillion. That's where our budget's supposed to be at. $4 trillion. It's 2.5 over budget right now. And we're collecting so much taxes that we actually covering it. It's crazy. Look, y'all. $2.6 trillion can erase all the debt, credit card debt, whatever kind of debt, financial debt, and school debt that every American citizen has. Our country thinks it's economically or budgetary or socialist to do that one time for an American citizen when they're blowing 20 to 30 years of $4 to $6.5 trillion every single year. And think about the money that we give to other countries for humanitarian and all the crazy stuff. Well, watch this. How many soldiers we got in South Korea and Germany. And look, dude. We're illegitimate country. We have so much corruption with the average, like, senator, congressman, city council member, say governor, mayor. It's bad. It's bad. Just you can't, unless somebody could give you a reason why they won't do that. Over the last 40 years, let's say post 2008 with the big crash. Why is that not say, you know what? They've been through a lot. We should just do it. But they rather blow it. Like since 2008, 1980, we spent the equivalent of $150 billion to $250 billion every single year on Hispanic illegal migrants coming over here. Just on that. That's the numbers. $150 to $250 billion a year on Mexican, Venezuelans, Salvador's, Cuban migration, illegal migration coming into our country. That's how much we spend on them a year. And American citizens they just take it. Think it's okay. It's like, keep waking up, leaving the house like robots, playing, like not even playing the game. Because I don't even think we're playing the game. I think we just sheeps. And Black Americans, come on. 92% of black women and up, 87% of black men and up have voted for every single Democrat over the last 40, 50 years. No, I said this before. I said this in previous episode. No demographic in this country is that sheepish. None. We are zombie led. For real. It's crazy. And it has no logic to it. If I walk you through the numbers, if I walk you through the data, if I walk you through the psychology, the psychosis of it all, it's sad. And you watch this stuff and you be like, oh my God, this is recent. We talking the last couple years. This is all these cases that's coming to resolve, this stuff. This is 2025 information. These are 2025 rulings from stuff that's been happening in 22, 23, 24, and then ended in 25 with a case rulings. And now, by Trump and his people been able to look at the real data, they saying, "Oh, you crazy? You know, $250 million fraud. They got $2 billion to $20 billion of fraud going on here. This is bad." And the governor was hiding it like hell, and the mayor. Pay attention. There's a reason why I'm drilling this, why I took 3 episodes to kind of talk to you guys, because I need you guys to understand this. We got to change on this. And look, hit the like, subscribe, follow, please. I'm trying to level this podcast up. I know I'm a lonely, independent podcasters. I'm not like the bells and whistles of all your favorite podcasters, but we're going to get there. And also, individualperspectivepodcast@gmail.com. Please send me your email, your name and everything. And we're going to do some panels. I'm ready to go now. I'm ready to go now. So send it to email to that. And we're going to do some panels. I'll see if you're available and all that good stuff. Please hit that like, subscribe, follow. And then if you want, please give me your information in the individual perspective podcast @gmail.com. And we're going to do some panels. But look, I know I'm saying a lot. It's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I got a ton of other episodes I got to do after this, but I'm trying to find ways to do it and fund it and make sure that I'm being somewhat stable with the roof on my head. Okay. So let's do this, y'all.
Charged with stealing $47 million in the Feeding Our Future meal fraud case.
$47 million.
Mukhtar Sharif was the only defendant
6
to testify.
people.
He claimed he was legitimately serving meals to kids at the Dar al Farouk Mosque in Bloomington and testified that if any documentation was fraudulent, he didn't know about it. But following his conviction at his sentencing hearing today, Sharif took a different tone. Quote, "That is a painful feeling to know I did anything that caused these programs to be compromised. And for that, I am profoundly..."
I'm telling you, they got that money in Cayman Islands. They do that time. They family's good. Living the life.
Sorry. 100 members of the Somali community filled 2 courtrooms to watch Sharif's hearing. He went on to say, "The Somali community in particular has always been a source of pride and identity to me. To know my actions may have tarnished that image and even fueled negative perceptions about that community is a heavy burden to bear." Judge Nancy Bradley pointed out that Sharif's show of remorse was the opposite of his trial testimony. She pointed out that during the trial, Sharif recorded hours of testimony from the courtroom against her order. And after the revelation that a juror in the trial had been given a $120,000 bribe, Sharif frantically deleted a messaging app before turning over his phone. Messages retrieved showed he knew about the bribe attempt.
I gotta read that. Do y'all want me to go over the reading of it? Because they scanned it like crazy, and they must want us to kind of go and go get the document of some crazy stuff. I want to see what this says. Oh boy, you gotta love it. Gotta love it. What is that saying? Okay. Mistrial, which is great to us, then a conviction. If he can come through we got the surety. So somebody was handling the money. Not that we, but there's possibility here. 100 for our freedom. Bro, worth trying everything, bro. Wow. Oh, wow. That's it. I have a good feeling she will come through. That's a lot of money for her family. Cash, bro. Wow. 200 up front for any movement. You gotta love that. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. That is some wild stuff. I'm rewinding it just so I can see what's the full context of this thing. That looks real life. Dude. Wow. You see this, guys? Maybe I should be reading it out loud. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Alex, bro. This is our life. Ashala. I would do my best, bro. Also, do you know how to clear blurry videos? What? It was taken from the car when it was raining. Wow, so were they recording somebody? Okay, bro. Let me know. The video is on my other phone. What was that video for? That's where she usually sits every day. Oh, she's talking about the juror. This was scoped out by my guy. Sent along with photos. He is gonna send someone to drop off some money. That's their priority. 200 up front for any movement, and that's where they say, "Hey, if a mistrial, we get a mistrial is just as good." What's it? Mistrial, which is great for us, than a conviction. So, wow. So they know they're guilty. Oh boy. Nice, man. Yeah, so that's what that was. Scrolling through it just to see if we got a little bit more. Give me a second and I'll get back to the video. Yeah, so I already read this. Not that we will be, but it's possibility here we are playing with. So possibility of them getting caught or possibility of it working. What are they talking about? Okay. And that guy, I already read this. 100 for their freedom ain't nothing. It's worth it. Everything, bro. Got the Somalis talking like that. I'll tell you, that means that they well versed in fluent English and all that good stuff. And oh, that's wow. The joke's on us, y'all. Joke's on us, man. I am not worried. I share because I trust, bro. Don't worry about that stuff. Get some sleep, man. You got Judge Nancy waiting for you. Wow. Get some sleep, man. You got Judge Nancy waiting for you. It's a team effort, bro. Wow.
You have shown a staggering lack of respect for the law and this court, Brazel said, as she handed down a 17-year prison sentence, the longest in the Feeding Our Future case so far.
Another Feeding Our Future update today. Another defendant, Ayan Abukar, pleaded guilty. Their case notable because they used fraud money to purchase an aircraft to send to Nairobi, Kenya. The big...
I'm telling you, they was buying planes. Dude, y'all don't know. Okay, look. Only reason why I'm going to make you go through this next clip is because it's going to tell us everything about the fraud. And I just want you guys to understand, even if we do this stuff as podcasts, the reason why we do long form podcasting is because you get the full picture, the full context the full scope. And podcasters, we could decide to cut it up or summarize it for our own ego, or like say, hey, I'm gonna go play this little clip, 3-minute clip, and it gives you the broad spectrum of what's going on here. But most of it, I'm gonna just bloviate my point of view about it, and that's okay too. But I want you guys to see the full context of the government documentation and the investigation and the actual, literally going into the actual accounts, the checkings, where the checks were sent, and all the stuff to see who administrated and all that stuff like that, and see how, you got to understand, they tried to blame the fraud on this one lady, Almi Bach. Her name is Almi Bach. But she only really had $250 million fraud, and that's a lot. But they found that it was $2 billion to $20 billion of fraud. If it's that much fraud, it's got to come from the state treasury. Anything that's leaving from the state treasury got to be signed by the governor. Anything signed by the governor going into the city of Minneapolis, it's discussed with the governor and the mayor. So the mayor understands the city treasury and to give it to the feeding our future people. So this is the mayor and the governor doing a scam because they want the new voters for the Democrat Party. That's just the way it is. Look. I'm just giving you common sense. But let's go look at the damage. Extreme zoom up. Extreme close up.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Thompson. I'm the first assistant United States attorney here for the District of Minnesota. I'm standing in for our U.S. Attorney, Dan Rosen, who is out of the country getting married. Congrats to Danny and Atara. I hope you're watching. My condolences for all of you who will be stuck with me today. I'm here today with representatives from my office as
I don't know. All that sounds a little shady too. No, okay. Gotta stop.
well as from the FBI, the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Inspector General, the IRS Criminal Investigations, and the Department of Homeland Security Investigations. We are here to announce new charges in the ongoing investigations into fraud in state government programs, including the Housing Stabilization Services Medicaid program and the EI.
Remember when Trump was saying on the campaign that they're taking money from your Medicaid and your Medicare? Remember that? And I want you guys to understand, this is just Minnesota. They found out that this is all through the country and all the different states. Boy, get ready.
DBI.
But they so stupid. Our government and the Republicans so stupid that they're going to scrub a lot of this.
Autism Medicaid program. I also want to give an update as to the status of our investigations, which have become a matter of significant public concern both here and around the country. First, we're announcing charges against 5 new defendants in the investigation of fraud in the Housing Stabilization Services Medicaid program here in Minnesota. The first indictment, United States versus Hassan Ahmed Hussein and Ahmed Abdirashim Mohammed, involves the owners of Pristine Health LLC, a housing stabilization services company here in Minnesota. These 2 defendants enrolled in the Housing Stabilization Services program, purportedly to provide services helping people who were facing housing instability find and maintain stable housing. They did no such thing. Instead, they submitted fraudulent claims to Medicaid for services that they did not actually provide to those individual clients. In all, they obtained more than $750,000 in Medicaid payments through their fraud scheme, much of which they used for pretty extensive international travel, including to London, Sydney, Australia, Istanbul, Turkey, Dubai, and several locations in Saudi Arabia. The second case being announced today is United States versus Kamil Omar Salah, the owner of Safe Lodgings, Inc., another housing stabilization services company. As with the other defendants, Mr. Salah enrolled in the housing stabilization program and began claiming to be providing housing stabilization services to people that were leaving drug and alcohol rehabilitation facilities. Again, he did no such thing. Instead, he just submitted fraudulent claims for services that he never provided. He submitted more than $1.4 million in fraudulent Medicaid claims, which he used to purchase more than $150,000 in cryptocurrency, as well as to fund his lifestyle.
Jeez.
We learned recently that Mr. Salah actually records related to its participation in the Housing Stabilization Services program. The fourth and fifth defendants are charged in United States versus Anthony Waddell Jefferson and Lester Brown. And this case is slightly different. This is an instance of what's essentially fraud tourism. Mr. Jefferson and Brown were residents of Philadelphia who had no connection to Minnesota, except for they heard that Minnesota and its Housing Stabilization Services program was easy money.
Yeah,
so
it
they traveled
is.
to Minnesota, enrolled their companies, Chosen Runner LLC and Retzel Real Estate LLC, in the Housing Stabilization Services Medicaid program here in Minnesota. They then returned to Philadelphia and began submitting fraudulent claims to Minnesota Medicaid here, through which they obtained more than $3.5 million in fraudulent Medicaid payments. This fraud tourism is new, although we've heard of it as investigators here. I mean, these defendants came here not to enjoy our lakes, our beautiful summers, or our warm people. They came here because they knew and understood that Minnesota was a place where taxpayer money could be taken with little risk and few consequences. Fortunately,
I love how he's talking about it like it's not a governor or mayor situation. You're taking it's not you're not taking it from some account that's in an LLC. They're giving it to an LLC, but it's got to come from the city or the state treasury. And all that stuff gets signature by, especially when it gets up to like $1 million, you got to get the actual governor's signature or the mayor's signature. So why are they still talking about, I understand they got to give us the case for the actual people that did the fraudulent documents, but the transfer of funds is the actual treasurer, whoever's the head of the treasurer in the in the state, in the city of Minneapolis, and it's the governor and the mayor for signing that. Like they was trying to put Trump in jail for 34 years. What was it? No, it was 107 years because his lawyer sent his account, his account, pretty much where he sends his invoices into the account department of Trump Organization. Trump Organization read the invoice. They cut the check out because it's his personal lawyer, and they sent the check to Trump's desk to say, okay, your lawyer has come with 12 months worth of invoices for the year of 2017 or something like that. He was his personal lawyer, so for every single month he paid him $35,000. Okay, and Trump signed the checks. All they did was took him the check. The account department seen his invoice. They knew, okay, yes, he is his actual lawyer on retainer for a whole year. This is the whole year of 2017. Okay, we make out a check for every single month from January to December of 2017 for $35,000. We're going to take this over to President Trump's desk or his to the Oval Office so he could sign his checks. He knows he's giving this to him for a retainer for the whole year because he's his personal lawyer. So Trump signs all 35 checks and say, okay, yes, approved. There's companies that try to get money from Trump, and if it's not valid, he can void it. But he just, okay, 12 months. The New York tried to prosecute Trump and says that he was paying him back for giving Stormy Daniels $140,000. Where is the facts and the proof of that? Because the lawyer is shady and he had some crazy stuff that he was doing with taxi medallions because he was trying to have a taxi company and he didn't pay some taxes on it and he didn't pay some taxes inside his lawyer company and his law firm or something. And the feds and the New York prosecutors came on him for that and they flipped him to say, hey, we won't give you no prison time if you got something on Trump. So he said that, I paid Stormy Daniels $140,000 to keep her mouth closed about him banging her. Trump said, why'd you pay her anything? You get what I'm saying? She's a liar. I ain't do nothing with that lady. He told her that when he told him about that he paid her $140,000. So that's how it was for Trump. He didn't care. He didn't care about how he got his money back. That's your problem. But from that, all Trump knew is him saying, I was trying to help you. I was trying to save you. Whatever that was. So that's the problem of the lawyer, that he did that. Now, as a prosecutor, as a the law, you have to find proof that Trump paying him back for his payment of Stormy Daniels. When they looked at all the checks that he had gave him for the 2017 and it was for the equivalent of $35,000 for 12 months. So it came out to I think it was $420,000. Okay. So for $420,000, that's way more than $140,000. So factually, you can't say that he was paying him back. You can't say he was paying Michael Cohen's back for paying Stormy Daniels because it was only $140,000. Let's say if he wanted, and they say, well, he was giving him more money because he was paying for taxes. Well, that's $280,000. What's the rest of that money for? So already that's perception, and it's a lie even by the actual reasons of the actual lawyer. The lawyer gave the accounting invoice for his retainer of being his personal lawyer. That's what it says on the invoice. It don't say Stormy Daniels. It say retainer for yearly. It's retainer for the personal lawyer to Donald J. Trump. That's what they cut the checks for. The checks equals up to 12 months. So if you want to say that it was for Stormy Daniels, you got no factual proof of that. What are these checks for? Why did you pay Michael Cohen $420,000 and gave him 12 checks, the equivalent of 12 months of checks? Because it was my yearly retainer for 2017. That's what it factually proves. And they put him on trial, found him guilty. The warped psychological trauma citizens of New York found him guilty. And the factual data they actually had that the $420,000 it was the equivalent of 12 payments of $35,000, and they found him guilty. Do you think our judicial system is something like that we all should be respecting? No. That alone, until they write that, they got to write that right up to the Supreme Court. So every single case Trump been taking it from the appeals court to the state appeals court, to the Supreme Court. And he's still fighting that stuff just to erase this crazy prosecution out of his way. Look, I know you guys may not be Trump supporters. I'm just telling you, this was popping off. So when you hear this kind of shit, think about that. That was Trump's money. From Trump organization, from money that he been making for 30, 40 years. That didn't come from no campaign finance or some people paying $30 a month to support his campaign. No, it came from his accounts, his billions of dollars. Look, y'all, I know y'all believe the media when they tell you that he's a loser and he's not really no good businessman. Y'all wish y'all could fail and succeed how Trump has failed and succeed. You wish. This man has lost $6 trillion and made $14 trillion back, and he's going to die with $4 trillion. I got to say that again. He lost $6 billion in negotiation, building buildings, trying to renovate New York and all this stuff, taking very risky situations with casinos and all that stuff. By 1992, he lost about the equivalent of $6 billion. I got to stop saying trillion, sorry. He lost the equivalent of $6 billion. From 1992 to now, he made that $6 billion in debt back, plus $14 billion. Do you understand that? So now he's liquid about $10 billion. His assets is another $4, $5, $6 billion. This man gonna die with probably, I'll say realistically, $15 to $20 billion. He's gonna die with that. He's a risky person. He was always like a maverick. He was a wild, risky person for a vision that he had in real estate and golf courses and different stuff, deals that he was doing. So yes, he took the risk and he risked $6 billion, but he made it back. All the banks love him. They love him to this day. It got so crazy where, just in case we all, in theory, if the banks love him, or do he got good standing with banks? Banks testify on his behalf. All the accounts that he had, all the debts that he had, they said, nope, he paid us well. We made a lot of money off of him. We happy. That's their testimony on the court. I could do this forever. I'm sorry. I got a little sidetracked. This is shady.
Through the hard work of the agents that we have been able to charge them for their role here. Now, to date, we have charged 13 people for their role in the scheme to defraud the Housing Stabilization Services Program, and that investigation remains very much ongoing. We expect additional charges in the coming weeks and months. I also want to announce some updates in the fraud scheme, or the scheme to defraud the Early Intensive Development and Behavior Intervention for Autism program, another Medicaid program here in the state of Minnesota. Today we unsealed charges against the second defendant charged in the case, Abdi Najib Hassan Youssef, who owns Star Autism Center in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Mr. Youssef, like others involved in the autism scheme, paid kickbacks to parents to have their children diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and enrolled to receive EIDBI services at his autism center. Based on these fraudulent claims for services that were not provided, and in many cases were not needed, he received more than $6 million in Medicaid funds.
And you say, what does this have to do with Renee Good? This is what they was fighting for. This is what Renee Good put herself on the line with her dumb, ridiculous, radical girlfriend. She allowed that lady to put her life on the line for these people. It's ridiculous. This is what ICE is in town for. They grabbing up all of them.
Some of those proceeds to purchase a semi-truck for $100,000, and he also sent more than $200,000 to Kenya.
Jeez.
Earlier this morning at 10:30, the first defendant charged in the autism fraud scheme, Asha Farah Hassan, pled guilty. As you may recall, Ms. Farah was the owner of Smart Therapy LLC, a Minneapolis-based autism clinic. Through her clinic, she participated in both a scheme to defraud the EIDBI program, as well as a scheme to fraudulently obtain federal child nutrition program funds under the sponsorship of Feeding Our Future. Through these fraud schemes, Ms. Hassan received more than $14 million in Medicaid payments and more than $450,000 in federal child nutrition program funds, of which she sent at least hundreds of thousands of dollars to Kenya, which were used to purchase real estate.
Ridiculous.
This morning,
the funny part about it is all this, what you're hearing right here, our actual government did this for Hispanic illegals for the last 30, 40 years. Set them up schools, set them up like restaurants, set them up like food court, and say that they get on their feet and they was helping the community, all this stuff. Our government actually did this stuff. So if you look at our government books and see what they cut checks out for, you'll see the same crazy stuff. But the cool part about it is that it's so ridiculous that you got some people thinking it's justifiable to air this all out because they think it's so crazy, but they don't understand. This is a blueprint from our actual government to illegal immigrants since Ronald Reagan to now.
That's the EIDBI program. This morning, we also executed a search warrant related to investigation into another Medicaid program here in Minnesota, a state Medicaid program called Integrated Community Supports.
Ridiculous.
ICS was a program that started in 2021 here in the state of Minnesota. It was designed to help people with disabilities live more independently in the community with assistance, with one-on-one help with health issues, safety, and other household tasks to allow them to live in the community as opposed to in an institution. Through this program, providers obtain apartments in which their ICS clients can live. In theory, the providers are supposed to be giving daily assistance to those clients to help them live independently in the community. That assistance can include community participation, helping them get out and about in the community, helping them with household management, setting up medical appointments, and issues with household safety and day-to-day safety. In reality, what the investigation has shown is that many ICS providers did no such thing. Instead, they simply obtained apartments or condos, which they rented to people who they got qualified to receive ICS services, people with disabilities that would qualify them to receive ICS services, and then just put them in there and started billing.
Wow.
The ICS program would allow providers to bill hundreds of dollars a day for each ICS client that they had, often more than $100,000 or even $200,000 a year for each ICS client. But in reality, that's not what was happening. Now, this program, like the others, this ICS program saw a similar pattern of explosive growth in recent years. Since beginning in 2021, the first year that Minnesota offered Medicaid coverage for integrated community supports, has grown from $4.6 million in 2021 to more than $170 million in 2024.
Wow.
You see the 2025 numbers were through September 30th, but they're on pace for nearly $180 million, despite the efforts to get a handle on the fraud in recent months here in Minnesota. In all, since 2021.
That's the bleeding heart liberals, the white liberals. Tim, it's like the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor, they crazy. They are.
Medicaid has paid out more than $400 million
Tim
to
Watts.
the providers of ICS support services.
Mm-mm-mm.
Now, this pattern you see on the board is very similar to ones you might be familiar with in these other investigations. You see that explosive, even exponential growth. The Housing Stabilization Services, which also started in 2021, has a similar pattern of growth.
Wow.
Growing and growing and growing each year. And again, this program was estimated to cost $2.5 million a year. But the data from the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services show that it costs significantly more than that.
Jeez.
And in fact, housing stabilization has cost more than $300 million since 2021.
Like, how do y'all let them
IDBI
go?
autism program.
Y'all hear this? It's $2.5 million consistently, and since the Biden term and through the Biden administration, Biden and them gave so many illegal immigrants and migrants like so much money that it jumped from $2.5 million to $300 million. In one, that's just one little service that they provide. Another one is like 1.5, 1.6 million jump to 100 million. In just that 2001 to 2003, 2004 period. Biden's administration was a scam. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Y'all pathetic Democrats. Look what your people did. Look what your voters did. Look what your ideology did. This is ridiculous. I hate the Republicans because they innocent bystanders to the destruction of the country. So but Democrats, this is crazy. This is your ideology. It's that bleeding heart syndrome y'all have. Ridiculous.
Has a similar pattern. It's cost the state more than $1 billion since starting in 2018, or it's cost Medicaid more than $1 billion, and has grown, as you can see, every year significantly larger. And of course, the original scheme that started all this was Feeding Our Future, the Federal Child Nutrition Program, and as you can see here,
that's the case we just got to review it. Wow.
A similar pattern of explosive growth. I want to talk a little generally about the investigation and the scope. I know there's been a lot of questions recently about the scope of the fraud and the amount lost. The state in recent months has flagged 14 Medicaid programs as having significant fraud problems. For those 14 programs, which include the Housing Stabilization Services Program and the EIDBI Autism Program, the state's issued a payment suspension for 90 days. They've ordered a third-party audit of all providers in those programs, and they've even canceled the Housing Stabilization Services Program altogether. Now,
That's too late for that, dude. That's them covering their ass, dude. Why are they cutting checks out this? They know their budget and what it's been for like decades and years, and all of a sudden in 4 years you're like 1,000% higher than you always been. That's a problem. Who cutting that check out? Who agreeing to that? The mayor and the governor. This is ridiculous.
Services, there are many more. PCA services, adult day services, non-emergency medical transportation. No, we've been talking for some months about the fraud problem in Minnesota, and I've always believed that if you speak the truth in a plain-spoken way, people can handle it. Minnesotans and taxpayers deserve to know the truth of the fraud. The fraud is not small. It isn't isolated. The magnitude cannot be overstated. What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
Wow.
It's
I mean, it's
Minnesota
everybody.
and calling into question everything we know about our state. I spoke in the fall about the iceberg I saw ahead. Something's fraud that's much larger than what's been visible to the public. When I said that, it wasn't hyperbole or rhetoric, it was a warning. And today I want to talk and I want to show here a sense of what that iceberg looks like, because I think people deserve to know what that is. and how big this problem is, because we can't solve the problem until we grapple with the size of it. So the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services pulled the claims data for these 14 programs dating back to 2018.
Wow.
Those 14 programs in Minnesota have cost $18 billion since 2018. And more
Okay,
than
I was off
$2
too.
billion in 20.
I was off $2 billion for the scam. Instead of $20 billion, it was 2 to 18. Wow.
2024 alone. So that's a sense of the magnitude of the problem. These are the 14, or rhetoric. It was a warning. And today I want to talk, and I want to show here a sense of what that iceberg looks like, because I think people deserve to know what that is and how big this problem is, because we can't solve the problem until we grapple with the size of it. So the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services pulled the claims data for these 14 programs dating back to 2018. And those 14 programs in Minnesota have cost $18 billion since 2018, and more than $3.5 billion in 2024 alone.
Wow.
So that's a sense of the magnitude of the problem. These are the 14 Medicaid programs, which is just a part of Medicaid, these waivered services that have been flagged as having issues with program integrity and fraud. Now, I'm sure everyone is wondering how much of this $18 billion was fraud. That's it's not the $1 million question, that's the $18 billion question. The answer is far too much, and the task ahead of all of us is not only figuring out how much of that money was fraud, because we know a significant amount was, but figuring out how to put an end to the fraud in our state and get control of it. So let me end with this before I take questions. The magnitude of the fraud in Minnesota cannot be overstated. It's staggering amounts of money that have been lost. But it's not just about the money that's been stolen and wasted. This is a problem that's caused all of us to question what kind of state we live in. I think it's eroded our sense of collective statewide self-esteem and confidence. It's caused a state, as I've said before, that has long taken pride in having a strong economy, good schools, beautiful lakes, many parks, and a sense of community spirit and civic mindedness. This fraud really calls into question all of that. And I know that it's gone on, it's been allowed to go on far too long. And we need to do whatever we can to stop it in its tracks. Thank you.
Joe, can you give us a bare minimum of how much of that $18 billion you suspect will turn out to be fraud?
I think a significant portion.
Joe, could you talk about how much you have charged in court connected to fraud you've uncovered? What's the dollar amount of that?
Well, we prosecute people, not dollars. Feeding Our Future, Amy Bach, the head of Feeding Our Future, was convicted of carrying out a $240 to $250 million fraud scheme. Several other defendants that were charged in what we call collectively as the Feeding Our Future case were actually not under the sponsorship of Feeding Our Future. So the very first quote-unquote Feeding Our Future trial was actually a group of individuals that owned Empire Cuisine and Market and other related companies. They carried out a $49 million fraud, almost all of which was under the sponsorship of another entity. Similarly, a case called United States versus Haji Salad, which charged 7 or 8 defendants with carrying out a $25 million fraud scheme under the sponsorship of Partners in Nutrition. So you do the math, $250 million plus $50 million plus $25 million. That's well into the $300 millions just in the federal child nutrition program fraud scheme. These other programs here, housing stabilization, autism now between 6 and 14, that's $20 million that's charged in the autism program so far. Housing stabilization, I haven't done the math, but it's well over 10 that's charged now. And obviously that's just this team's efforts. There's other prosecutions going on that have been flagged for many people. Evergreen Recovery is a case you may recall that I think was $30 million involving rehabilitation or drug and alcohol treatment. So it's a significant amount.
Joe, Asha Hassan, how many people like Asha Hassan fit into 2 buckets?
Well, Asha Hassan's the one that's been charged with and now convicted of both buckets, but many defendants in these cases were getting money from multiple government benefit programs, many Medicaid programs. This is how these investigations grew out of Feeding Our Future.
Ridiculous.
I think roughly 24 or so Feeding Our Future defendants were getting money from autism clinic.
Y'all think that they was just doing this in Minnesota? This is a good scheme. Like they was doing this everywhere. They don't take my word for it. They said they doing it everywhere. I think they gave up a report today talking about the big scam and stuff. But they got a big task force going through every state's books, and they're about to find a lot of this out.
And that's why we got caught. That's how we learned about the autism fraud. And if you look at the bank records, many of which were admitted into evidence at trial, you'll see many other healthcare companies from which charged defendants and convicted defendants were receiving funds.
And when we talk about the benefit, like I was in court for her sentencing or plea today, and the government talked about somewhere between $9 and $25 million she'd be, was on her shoulders, or her smart therapy,
Yep.
restitution coming in 15.9 million. These numbers are all over the place. Can you explain why it's 9 to 25 and we're settling?
Well, 9 to 25 is the sentencing guideline range. There's an enhancement based on the loss amount, and one of the sort of windows of loss amount is between 9 million and 25 million. So that's just a product of how the sentencing guidelines are. The 14 or whatever million she owes, that's a combination of the money she fraudulently received from the EIDBI program and the federal child nutrition program. Again, normally often media will ask about the loss amount or how much have you prosecuted. When we prosecute people, not dollars. Our forensic accountants can answer some of this, but we're focused mostly on not only charging defendants. The reason we charge defendants is to stop them from committing fraud. So housing stabilization, maybe we've charged $10 or $15 million worth of fraud in terms of those individual defendants. But of course, the state shut down the program that was costing more than $100 million a year. So does the prosecutor get credit for that? That's for other people to decide.
So can you confirm that it's taken 4 years to get to where you are today? How long is it going to take to get to $1 billion worth of charges? Or $2 billion worth of charges? A year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
As long as it takes.
I wanted to confirm the 14 programs that have been designated as being at high risk. These are now programs that the federal law enforcement agencies are actively investigating, correct?
Yes, we're looking into all those programs, yes.
And as you look across the country, are there any other examples where the cost of Medicaid-funded programs saw this kind of exponential growth? Is Minnesota clearly an outlier when you look at spending on these programs across the board?
I think we're an outlier in a bad way, yes.
That's ridiculous.
To every 50 state, no, but you don't see fraud on this scale in other states. And part of that is just we sit here as a team, and it's a relatively small team or a relatively small U.S. Attorney's Office, and every day we look under a rock and find a new $50 million fraud scheme. That shouldn't be the case in a state of our size. Certainly other states have problem with frauds, but I think our problem is unique insofar as we've just opened the door. You know, what we aren't seeing here, traditional Medicare or Medicaid fraud is people overbilling, upcoding. So you're instead of billing for a service with a relatively modest reimbursement, you claim to be providing a higher dollar value service, and you get more Medicaid payments or reimbursements that you should be entitled to. That's traditional. You may be getting 20% more. You're padding your bills. What we see here, and what I think is unique to Minnesota, is that's not what we're looking at. What we're seeing is programs that are just entirely fraudulent. These aren't companies that are providing some services but overbilling Medicare or Medicaid. These are companies that are providing essentially no services. They're essentially shell companies created to defraud the program, created to submit on a wholesale level.
Well, he keeps talking about it like all the treasury and the city treasury and the state treasury have no idea why they sending out billions of dollars that they never had to send out, hundreds of millions of dollars that they never had to send out to specific programs that they always kind of know, this program don't do 100 million. This program does 2.5 million, and all of a sudden it's doing 300 million. It's crazy, and we don't even have this many people in the state, in the city. It's ridiculous. So he got to stop talking about that, but he don't want to say it's just, he don't want to start saying crazy stuff like I'm pretty sure the governor signed off on this, and I'm pretty sure the mayor signed off on this, and their treasury department head signed off on this. In order for them to sign off on this, they had to communicate it to the actual mayor and the governor. But yeah, maybe if it's $2.5 million normally and you end up spending $5 million, maybe you say, okay, hey, we're just active because of COVID or something like that. But if I'm sending 10, 20, 50, $100 million over the 2.5, that's a problem. That's a lot of money you got to account for. And the treasury not accounting for it. It's crazy. They not looking at the invoice from a certain city. Y'all, wow. We got a criminal governor and a criminal mayor, and y'all need to start saying it.
And aren't provided. I think that's unique to Minnesota.
Which programs are the worst after you've looked at these? Which ones, which ones have the most fraud in it? Which are the biggest?
Well, Feeding Our Future obviously was entirely fraudulent. Essentially, it's hard to say. EIDBI is an incredibly lucrative program. Some of these other ones are quite large. I think the PCA program is over $1 billion or $1.5 billion a year alone. So I think there's a significant amount of fraud in that program. Which is worse? I think that's a normative statement, a value statement that I'll leave to others.
This is 18 billion over how long? 18 over how long?
Since 2018.
Since 2018.
Yes.
Could you talk about the funds that were sent out of the country? There's been a lot of concern about that in other cases in regards to the money sent to Kenya.
Yes, there's a significant amount of money sent abroad, mostly to East Africa, much of it to Kenya and to Nairobi. The money that we've traced, most of it has been used to purchase real estate in Nairobi, where there's a large Somali diaspora. So we've traced much of it. In fact, the first trial, United States versus Abdiaziz Farah, we had days and days of evidence showing the money that was sent to Nairobi and the real estate purchases that they made there, including the construction of an entire 10 or 12-story apartment building.
But you haven't heard anything that shows that these funds were funding terrorism?
Correct. Well, there's no indication that the defendants that we've charged were radicalized or seeking to fund al-Shabaab or other terrorist groups. Some money went to Somalia. Indirectly, some money might have gotten to the hands of al-Shabaab, which controls significant parts of Somalia and imposes a tax there. So that's a little nuance then. There's no...
Then you gotta say that you know that it went to al-Shabaab, dude. Stop. You already have evidence. If they control the money, then it went to them.
There's no indication that defendants have been sending money to terrorist organizations or
nah, you can't. See, that's that liberal stuff. You gotta admit, man, y'all, it's bad.
Joe, you're obviously looking to figure out how much of this $18 billion is fraudulent, and what kind of work is it going to take to determine that?
It's going to take more than just prosecutors, that's for sure. I mean, we're prosecuting what we can. This is far beyond the capability of a group of prosecutors and law enforcement agents, although we're working around the clock and hopefully we're getting some reinforcements. But, a lot of this is going to have to come down to regulators and other people looking into the problem and stopping the flow of money, which has overwhelmed our system and overwhelmed our ability to prosecute.
You're obviously looking a lot at what happened in the past, but looking forward, how confident are you in the measures that are being taken right now by Minnesota lawmakers to prevent more fraud from happening?
Well, I'll let them decide whether their efforts. I'll say this: I'm heartened by the fact that people are paying attention and trying to stop it. Obviously, we prosecute backwards crimes that have happened. That's how it works. And I think we've been clear that we can't prosecute our way out of it. I'm glad that people are taking it seriously and trying to shut off the faucet of funds that are flowing out to these.
I'm going to end this in a few seconds, y'all. We're going to go to the next clips.
Yes.
Is there any indication that this company even had an office here in Minnesota?
I don't know the answer to that. They did rent an office, although I'm not sure how active it was. My understanding is they lived in Philadelphia and they came here to enroll patients.
Wow.
And whatever forms they submitted from their homes in Philadelphia.
No indication that there were employees working here while they were employed.
No.
To the question about the lawmakers and partnerships there, can you talk a little bit about the partnership in the office with the U.S. House Fraud Prevention Oversight Committee, and whether you believe that committee should also be handing over whistleblower complaints to state users like the Attorney General's office?
I'm just trying to see if anybody asks a question of how the Treasury is. What was the excuse from the Treasury?
I can't comment on which entities we're investigating specifically.
I'm not asking for specifics on names. I'm just talking about numbers. You say you were investigating dozens or over 100. Can you put any kind of numbers on it?
No.
In court today, we said that Asha Hassan owes $15 million in restitution. Realistically, how much money are you going to get back?
Well, it depends. It's defendant by defendant. We seize assets from many people. If they have money in bank accounts, we're very aggressive in seizing those funds. If they purchase real estate, especially if they purchase it without financing, we're very aggressive in getting that property back, and we can liquidate it and use to pay off. In the Feeding Our Future case, for example, I think we're somewhere between $60 and $70 million that we've recovered. About $30 million of that is cash or liquid money seized from bank accounts. The rest is a combination of real estate and cars. You know, how much money we'll get out of that will depend at the end of the day, but there's many multi-million-dollar properties that were purchased outright with no financing.
Ridiculous.
So we're going to get a considerable amount back in that. Otherwise, it's case by case. Yes.
When you say $18 billion, the programs cost $18 billion, are you saying cost the state or the federal?
Medicaid. Those are Medicaid funds.
Really
Yes.
quick, I know the Autism Center investigation stemmed from Feeding Our Future and seeing some of those same defendant names come up. To what extent do you think these 14 programs, these people who are committing fraud, are billing multiple programs across Minnesota to get as much as they can out of the state?
Many are. Most individuals that we've investigated and charged, if you look on Open Corporate, say the website, you'll see that they have multiple healthcare entities, almost each of which seems to be created to bill a specific Medicaid
Ridiculous.
program.
Okay, let's go to the next clip. Okay, and then we're gonna wrap this up and then I'm gonna just play a couple. Sorry about that. I'm gonna play a couple clips from just to remind you of the actual what's her name, Renee Good, and then we're gonna go to a few aftermath comments, and we're gonna wrap this on up. Okay, and then we're gonna get to Venezuela and some other stuff that we need to talk about. But and then, like I say, if you guys hit that link for the email, Individual Perspective Podcast, and we could start talking about some relationship stuff and do some panels about some clips of some different, gender war type of stuff that's been going on. Okay, so let's see.
Learning the Feeding Our Future case was just the tip of the iceberg for fraud in Minnesota.
Now, that is according to federal prosecutors who shared staggering new numbers today. As So Young Kim reports, more than half of $18 billion spent on Medicaid programs in Minnesota could be fraudulent payments.
The U.S. Attorney's Office had warned about the iceberg of fraud they saw ahead earlier this year. Now prosecutors are giving a sense of just how big the problem could be.
What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
Federal prosecutors say they're just getting started looking into Minnesota's social services fraud schemes. Officials say they flagged similar patterns of explosive growth in those programs. According to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the 14 Medicaid programs at the center of investigations in Minnesota have cost $18 billion since 2018 overall. Prosecutors say they aren't able to put a final figure to the scale or portion of fraud in the state, but Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson says he suspects it could be in the ballpark of $9 billion or more.
I don't make these generalizations in a hasty way, so when I say a significant amount, I'm talking on the order of half or more, but we'll see. When I look at the claims data and the providers, I see more red flags than I see legitimate providers, and overwhelmingly so.
And prosecutors say they expect to see additional charges in the coming weeks and months in the state.
Wow. $9 billion or more. So 50% or more of this fraud. I'm thinking it's going to be more than 60, 70. That look crazy. The Treasury is not releasing $99 billion. The state Treasury is not because the government gives it, the federal government gives it to the state, and the state gives it to the city. The state government is not gonna release $9 billion to one city without due diligence and a sign off by the actual governor. Meaning, it's impossible for the governor and the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of Minnesota to not know it was a scam and too much money was going out. And if you want to know how much money that they cannot write off, you got to understand most of those programs, year by year by year, was $2.5 million, and it ballooned up to 100 million, ballooned up to 300 million. That's a red flag by the treasury of the city and by the treasury of the actual state. And for them both to say, "Oh my God, we didn't know, we didn't see this," it means that we're letting people get away with crime. And that's why I say you cannot charge people for crime that you don't charge people that have evidence that they did it and you know they did it. That means you must release all the people that been in that situation, because you got to give them the same results that you feel that's rightful. If you think it's right for a governor to commit fraud like that, $9 billion in fraud and not go to jail, this is illegitimate system. It's an illegitimate judicial system. If we just use Minnesota case alone. Wild stuff, boy. Okay. I want to play the actual, if I can find it. I want to play because I do want to remind you it's the most important video that's out there. So I do want to play the officer's camera that shot Renee Good. See, because this is what counts.
We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking country. You want to come at us?
Ridiculous.
I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead. Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Whoa! She runs into the other car. Okay, I'm going to play it again, and we're going to talk again, just real quick, and then I'm going to give you some aftermath clips, and then we're going to tie this up, and I'm going to see you guys asleep, okay? I know we got the Steelers Texas playing. I know I'm doing that wrong time. I know. I will wrap this up real quick. So he gets out his car and he walks around, because obviously they said that they've been following them and blocking them and impeding their thing and making it hard for them to get out the area and all that stuff. And she literally blocked it in the middle of the street. She's been wild. But they've been doing it all over the city and been doing it all over the country, blocking ICE agents in. So this must be something that they've been trained or kind of notify each other to do when they out there on the ground and stuff. So it's crazy, and it's really dangerous for the idiot that don't know that anything can happen when you put yourself in the abyss. The abyss, when you get into the abyss, anything goes, for real. Like, oh, I'm just fine, dude. I'm not mad at you, because he's filming her, and she said, "Oh, you can go ahead, film me. You can go ahead and have my identity." Y'all stupid. And then you got her girlfriend outside the car talking shit, talking about that, like former U.S. soldier, U.S. effing soldier, or whatever she said. I'll play it. Telling him to show his face. I already went over this in the previous episode. Why, that's just ridiculous.
We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking veteran.
U.S. citizen, former fucking veteran. And she's the one that made Renee Good come to this little thing and start to be her little partner in crime with all this anti-ICE protests and stuff like that, and make her come to this event, or come to the state, Minnesota, to do this stupid shit, and it backfired on them. You wanna come at us? You 5'5", 5'4" at the most. Women, y'all need to go home, bake some cookies, do something. You don't want to be in the battlefield. The battlefield. ICE agents, they are trained to handle the cartel. Black gangs, black drug dealers are pussies when it comes to the cartels. This is facts known. If you come, look, trust me, if you know the data, that's true. And the people that are trained to be ready to battle them is ICE and Border Patrol. That's what their training is. And you out there playing games like that, that's dangerous.
I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Yeah. Now she's trying to get into the car, and Renee Good is backing up while she's trying to get in the car or moving the car. It's dangerous. It's a certain amount of just disrespect and just complete chaos and dangerous. And then she gonna tell her, drive, baby, drive, baby, drive, baby. You trying to get in the car with your hand on the door. You gonna get your hand yanked off. See that? That's dangerous right there. So drive, and he's right there in front, and she hits him. Obviously, she hits him. That's some friction right there. And they got another angle where they slowed it down, and he get hit pretty good. But he was able to shoot those rounds off, so he must have seen it coming and shot the rounds off or something. He said fucking bitch on his breath, but that's bad. I really feel for Renee's Good, because I really feel like she was brought into the fire, into the abyss, dangerous situation, and she just think this is fun and game, and she was just trying to be a hippie, and her girlfriend got her killed.
Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car. Whoa.
Try, baby, try. You're dangerous. And she ran into that other car. And if you heard the other clip, I played it on the previous episode, so you got to go watch that. You could hear her foot still on the gas. So when she got hit. Okay, so let's go to some aftermath clips, and we'll wrap this on up. Okay.
From your experience, what does that show? What does that slowed down version tell you?
Well, the slowed down version is showing me that when the SUV pulls forward, they make contact with the agent in the street, and then immediately following that contact, you hear 3 gunshots follow.
So according to you, you do not hear a shot before contact.
I do not in this particular video. Absolutely not.
And yeah, let's just listen to this again.
Yeah, she hit him good. I don't know what that was. Playing too slow. Is that my stuff? I think that's their clip. Playing too slow. Yeah, so it's TikTok. Okay, let's go to another one. That's just a little angle of them showing you making contact. The next clip.
Well, it turns out the Fox News and Not Common Sense department was right. The Department of Homeland Security was right. And Minnesota politicians were wrong. Again, it's becoming a pattern. 24 hours ago, Minnesota authorities were telling us the woman who was shot and killed by federal law enforcement, 37-year-old Renee Good, was not an activist and was only near the ICE activity because she was dropping off her child. Now we know that Renee Good was part of ICE Watch, a group that monitors and interferes with ICE operations. And before the shooting, she was monitoring and interfering with ICE operations. And video from the officer's perspective backs up pretty much every detail, providing key evidence that Good and her wife were impeding and taunting ICE. And when law enforcement told Good to get out of her car, Good decided instead to aggressively use her car. And in the process, she struck law enforcement, who then opened fire. The mayor of Minnesota, who initially claimed the officer was never hit, now says the officer was barely hit. So now self-defense depends on the severity of the strike? Common sense thinks when you change your story from the wheels were turned away from the officer to the officer only suffered a minor injury, it's time to tone down the rhetoric, own up to the mistake.
Ridiculous. Okay, let's go to the next clip.
Before you scroll, check out this video really quick.
Great to be here.
You need to back up out of the
I
way.
will
This
not.
is one of our cars as well. You were too close right now. You were interfering.
I'm right here.
Federal
You're
investigation.
going to get out of my face.
You need
I'm
to
a
back
public
up over
citizen.
here.
No, I won't. Tell me
You need
why
to
I'm
back up
far
this
enough
way.
away from your investigation.
Step beyond our cars.
Don't touch me, please.
Beyond our cars.
Where's your cars?
Right here.
Where's your
Go all
cars?
the way
Oh,
this
that's great.
Keep going.
That's great. Sure. Beyond your cars? 20 feet, right?
See that white car?
I have a 6-year-old right here. I have a 6-year-old right here in my car.
Child in the car?
Ooh,
Yeah,
child
I sure
endangerment.
did. Yes, child endangerment.
Get your child off of the scene. This is an active police scene.
It's an
This is all on camera right now, too. Right here.
Yes, I'm wonderful. I'm very glad
Get
for
your
it.
child out of here. You
I
are
can
an
be
active
right here.
police scene.
So you're driving on by, and then you see a bunch of law enforcement. You're like, oh, well, I
Yeah.
gotta know what they're doing, right? I gotta go harass them while they're doing their job. So you park your car to the side, leave your 6-year-old in the car unattended, and walk on over and start recording. And then they tell you it's an active scene, which means that gunshot can be happening at any time. And you say, no, oh, it's my right. I can stay here and record. Oh, but I got a 6-year-old in the car like it's a flex. That is child endangerment. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Really? You guys have gone crazy.
And the reason why I play that is because I want you to see what they're doing all over the country to ICE. They doing this dangerous stuff. People just jumping out their car. These liberals and these radical white, like, liberals that are like bleeding heart, sympathetic people. They just doing some wild stuff. That's dangerous. It's dangerous. But it's like this. It's just this radical group of people, this ICE Watch stuff, that they get out and they interact and they're engaged and they put themselves in harm's way to disrupt and hope in their theory that ICE won't harm them as they impede their prosecution. So if you get out of the car, you see him, the ICE taking somebody, try to get to the person before and get them in your car or get them in your house and stuff, so that because they don't have no lawful right to take the person out of your car. Yes, they do. They got aggressive mandate and they got immunity too. Trump gave that to them on day one. So this is not a game y'all want to play for real. It's not. It's really not. Okay, let me play the next clip.
Feel about the fact that a U.S. citizen was murdered by ICE?
The way I feel is I watched the video on multiple different angles.
That
He was
is not
standing
a
in-
feeling.
he was
How do you feel? Feel it here in
Okay,
your heart.
Okay. And
Feel it
like I
here.
was saying,
Your immigrant mother.
Hey, you dumb fucking idiot. You feel stuff at home with your kids and your husband and all the other your family members and stuff. When you're on the street, when you're in the jungle, it's all calculation. It's on the best judgment instinctively. You get what I'm saying? Don't be assuming, oh, that doesn't feel right. Oh, that doesn't look. If I do that, that's going to make people think of me. And no, you react in the most logical possible way you possibly can. This lady is out her mind. But I'm going to let it play so you can hear her be a liberal white radical. And look, y'all got to read stuff like Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radical, and understand who Henry Wallace is. It'll better let you understand why Obama's the way he is, Biden's the way he is, Hillary Clinton the way she is, liberals are the way they are. They think they're thinking of new thought process. No, you've been enslaved and you've been manipulated and psychologically warped through colleges and Ivy Leagues and people with high Ivy League training to do Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals approach and Henry Wallace's ideological point of view.
Was murdered by ICE.
The way I feel is I watched the video on multiple different angles.
That
He was
is not
standing
a
in-
feeling.
he was
How do
stand-
you feel? Feel it here in your heart.
Okay. And like I was saying,
Your immigrant mother.
right?
Feel it in your heart.
I do. And at
Okay,
the end of the
so
day, if
don't tell
someone
me
tried
what
to run
you
me
saw
over,
or what you watched.
If someone tried to run me over, I would
That's
have done the
not a
same
feeling.
thing. I would have done the same thing.
Not a
That's
feeling.
how I feel. I feel perfectly fine.
That's not a feeling.
I feel
Wow.
fine. We're so
Yeah.
used to being antagonized that it's just one of those things where you don't really entertain it. I'm having a conversation with you because we've been real respectful. That's all it is.
That's how I was trying
But
to
every single time I see those cameras pop up, our conversation changes ever so slightly. So,
Who? Me
our
and you?
conversations, a little bit. They get a little bit more.
No, so I was upset because you were telling me what I know.
Okay, I see what
So,
you're saying. That's fair.
yes.
That's fair. That's human. At the end of the day, it is.
If I escalated, I apologize.
It's fine.
You guys were best friends before the camera came over here. Don't lie, I seen it.
I mean, we were
Yep.
having a really good
We were
conversation.
having a really good conversation. The camera's a little dangerous, all right?
This one has empathy. Like, look at his eyes.
I appreciate it.
I feel
Thank
like
you.
if
Ridiculous. Next.
Let me make this clear. Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger.
Now that's a Chicago cop telling you that. You better listen. You better listen. And I'm just gonna take you to we just going through conversations that's been happening for the last year or so. And Renee Good, she knows this and she came across this, or they should have known. You're gonna be going through some radical liberal organization. They better tell you this. For real.
I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead.
Okay, now this is what they all got in their head. If you guys escalate, okay? Now for us, us regular citizens, is us powerful people, we can overthrow this government, okay? But while liberal, radical people that are getting in front of illegal immigrants, they are illegal. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't care if they're your neighbors. I don't care if they cut your grass. I don't care whatever weird stuff you guys say. Well, who's gonna do this for us? Who's gonna do this for us? Black people don't do it, or you don't want that job, or white people don't do it. Who's gonna do this services? We gotta learn to do it. We gotta get that second job. What I tell you guys. Only way you're gonna survive in this crazy, whacked, corrupt economy that we have is that you need two $15 jobs. You need two $30 jobs. You need two $60 jobs. You need $220 an hour job. Okay? So if you make $15 an hour, you need to make $30 an hour. If you make $30 an hour, you need to make $60 an hour. If you make $60 an hour, you need to make $120 an hour. The only way you're gonna beat the banks, the corrupt system we have, the interest rates, them trying to stop you from being able to buy a house, you're gonna have to make $300 to $600 a day, your household. That's the only way you're gonna beat the shady government we have, the shady economic system we have, the podcasters that are filthy rich, and the social influencers that are filthy rich, and they pointing their nose and up at us, and they judging you, calling you a loser if you don't make over six figures. Only way you beat them is having $300 to $600 a day, and you can win in the society. And the scam and the crooked stuff that's going on through the structure of this economy. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. Okay? So look, don't do no stupid stuff. You got plenty of things to do than be out there trying to fight ICE, kicking illegal immigrants out. And Trump and them got to stop saying, oh, we only getting the worst of the worst. No, you're getting all illegal immigrants out. Once they crossed that border illegally, they didn't come through the front door. They didn't wait in Mexico until they got approved to come to the country. They were all illegal, and they crossed in and they became a criminal. That's just the way it is. They take our lives from us. They take our, if we commit crime, man, they will ruin our life. The court system, judges, everybody, police officers will ruin our lives. And all of a sudden, we're going to let 25 to 35 million people come in here and do what the hell they want, and we going to pay them for it? Ridiculous. Next. Oh, it's Obama clip. I can't wait to play this.
You've broken the law. You didn't come here the way you were supposed to. So, this is not going to be a free ride. What's going to happen is you are going to learn English. You are going to go to the back of the line so that you don't get ahead of somebody who was in Mexico City applying legally. I think the American people, they appreciate and believe in immigration. But they can't have a situation where you just have 500,000 people pouring over the border without any kind of mechanism to control it.
See? They knew it was up. It's all how you say it and who says it. It's all it is. It's all corrupt. All corrupt.
Laken Riley, remember that name too.
He's talking to all these people that's trying to fight against ICE and be out there to stop ICE from doing their procedures and stuff. So a guy, he was pissed looking at them. He came out of his house and started walking up to all the protesters.
That's why ICE is here. To get people out there want to... Laken Riley, remember that name too. That's why ICE is here.
Yep.
To get people out there want to kill people like us. They want to kill people like us. That's why I.C.E. and Department of Homeland Security is here. To get the people out that want to kill your children. These people are coming from all over the country, all over the world. All over the world, doesn't matter what color they are. This isn't about race. This is about good and evil. And we got evil people flooding into this country. And that's what these ICE agents are here doing, is getting them out of here. And the ones that were here illegally had the opportunity to leave and they didn't take it. And these people are being given the opportunity. And you guys are doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. Except for voting for communists to put in your fucking city council.
Wow. That's right. Play it back. Just this one episode, play it all back. I'm making sure that you got something to show your family if you got to. Because this is ridiculous, okay? I couldn't say it no better. Next. So look, y'all, they just got to get ready. Just got to get ready. Just get ready.
Damn.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm lit, fo. He can't drop me off real quick?
No.
How you doing today?
He can't drop me off real quick?
No, he can't. It smells like marijuana.
Okay, right? Yeah, I'm good. He dropping me off. This a Lyft drive, folks.
Nah, he's illegal.
Put your hands where I can see them.
For what?
Put your hands where I can see them, first of all, sir.
I got money in my pocket. That's all.
That's all you better have. That's the thing you better have in your pocket.
Hey, bro, chill out with all that, folks. What you got going on?
I got an arrest warrant for him, sir.
For what? He look like he chilling. He doing warrant. He dropping me off.
It's all good, sir. This is your moment to shine right now. So you could post it on your Facebook.
I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Don't worry about that.
I know that's right.
Don't worry about that, folks.
That's right. I ain't worried.
Can he drop me off though? Like, what's going on?
No.
All right, sir, you have a good day. All right.
Idiot.
Do me a favor. You're gonna have to get out the car. You're gonna have to get out the car.
Like, bro. Can he drop me off? Like,
no.
I'm confused. Damn.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm lit, fo. He can't drop me off real quick?
No, bro. How you doing today?
He can't drop me off.
He's an idiot. Can't drop me off real quick. No. You idiot. Boy, I tell you. Okay, look, y'all. Last clip, and we out of here, okay? Last clip. And this is for my fellow black people. Because I know you guys don't understand the Constitution logically. But I'm going to play something just to give you a little bit of, schooling. It's a little passive aggressive, but let's see.
Right citizenship was created for descendants of slaves. How the fuck do you not know this in this 2026? So, as a former federal policy writer, let me educate a lot of you ignorant ass people. When any initiative is created in the federal government, it is always going to be created to answer something that is going on institutionally at that time. I don't know how you don't understand this. So you basically think that they just said, oh, let's just give birthright citizenship to every motherfucker from every country all over the world. No, it does not work that way. Whenever we write policies and regulations in the federal government, and I did this for many years, many of you already know, every initiative is created to answer something that is going on institutionally at that time. So what this literally means, that if you are not a descendant of slaves, you should not be getting any birthright citizenship or any of the other reparations or incentives that comes with being here unless you came here the right motherfucking way. How do you not know this? You know why you don't know this? Because billions of dollars are being spent, are being moved to buy out your fucking emotions, who anchor their validation into being a Christian, being a Democrat, being a Q-dog, and all of this bullshit that you tie your loyalty to that teaches you this illusion of inclusion that includes everything but you. You know what? At this point, and with so much research available in 2026, it's a fucking decision. It's a choice to be stupid. Staying stupid is a fucking choice. Citizenship and every other form of reparations that is there, that was created for the descendants of slaves. Your black ass, you have been taught You have been taught to sit here and fight and create an argument for all of these other so-called underprivileged groups, all of these so-called minority groups who come here and benefit from the shit that your ancestors been through. Oh, that includes the Africans who were not born here too. They are included in that. If you are not a descendant of black slaves, birthright citizenship, and every other form of reparations and incentives that comes with, it does not apply to you.
That's for real. Okay? You guys, look, need to just say that. We need to just put that out there. Because people get crazy. They get crazy, okay? So look, I know. That's a lot. I'm going to end it with that because, you know, the totality of the immigration policies and immigrant situation and how it's just ridiculous in context. It's just ridiculous. So I needed to do an episode, pretty much 3 of them, to kind of integrate that into the Renee Good, because it's Renee Good situation happened because it's wrong. They were flat out wrong, doing wrong stuff, and then they were making a movement on it to inflate actions that are completely wrong, and sooner or later it was going to clash. So I hate that Renee Good is dead. That sucks and stuff. I really feel like her partner, the female girlfriend, got her in a lot of trouble. She probably should have stayed with her boyfriend, her husband, and her kids. You get what I'm saying? If you got a kid, you ain't supposed to be out there. But I heard, and I'm maybe I'll do this on a clip or something. But I heard that she was investigated, or somebody with her girlfriend was investigated for burning one of the kids or something. But look. I don't have the clip to represent it, so I won't say that's factual true. That could be speculation, okay? But look, we ended with the birthright citizen. Look, y'all, sucks, okay? Renee Good stuff is not good, really bad, no good for this situation. It's just dangerous, crazy stuff. But I hope you guys learned the lesson. Rest in peace, Renee Good. This is bad. This was a life that didn't need to be lost. But this liberal shit gotta stop. It's gotta stop. It's ridiculous, and it's a waste of time and energy and life. Okay? My name is Daris D. McKinney. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and follow. And if you guys want to be on the panel and help me build my panel so we can do conversations and talk about things and everything like that, please use the individualperspectivepodcast at gmail.com email, and I'll be seeing you guys there. And hopefully you kind of help join me, and I'll, like I said, I'll contact you guys and kind of see if you're available and everything like that. But I'm excited to do the panels. I think it's going to be cool. It's going to be fun. So won't you guys join me? Hit the Individual Perspective Podcast at gmail.com. Please like, follow, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. My name is Daris D. McKinney.